I'm Teresa Bailey, host of In the Money. On today's show, we're talking about home renovations that can help keep your home in the money. With median home prices on the rise and available inventory continuing to decline, many real estate experts have stated that they believe 2018 will continue to be a seller's market for residential real estate. Whether you plan to sell your home this year or years down the road, it's important to understand the possible impact of the dollars you spend on upgrades and improvements. Joining us today is Allyson Avera, Vice President and Broker with Crye-Leike Realtors. Allyson's going to share with us her thoughts on where to spend your time and dollars on upgrades and improvements to your home. Stay tuned as we sit down to chat with Allyson Avera.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Today we're discussing the best renovations to keep your home in the money. Joining us is Allyson Avera with Crye-Leike Realtors. Welcome, Allyson. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do every day.
Well, I moved to the Memphis area in 1989, and the last 27 years I have been a residential real estate agent with Crye-Leike Realtors. And you know, the thing about real estate is every day is truly a different day. So there's not like a standard of practice every day, but probably in the morning the emails and phones start about 7, or I'm picking up on what emails were overnight, answering those and then checking our MLS to see any new properties came on the market for buyers and any new listings that I need to compare to my sellers to keep them in line with what the market's doing. And then showing property, dealing with inspections and repairs, appraisals, holding a lot of hands, calming some nerves. But you know, it goes to about 7 or 8, sometimes 10 or 11 at night. It's a full day.
And 7 days a week, or?
7 days a week.
7 days a week, I bet. So in this age of do-it-yourself, what do you feel as an agent that you bring to a transaction as opposed to somebody trying to walk through it by, on their own?
Well, in real estate, I think sometimes we are matchmakers until you reach an agreement on a contract, and then you become the wedding planner. So a lot of times on that, you can get information online, but you don't necessarily have knowledge about how that transaction works, or about pricing, or what's going on in the overall market, or maybe even what's going on in the micro market as opposed to roads coming in or commercial coming in, or what's affecting the market. And I think a real estate agent who's worth their money knows those factors, and then they also keep you grounded and keep you from getting emotional and maybe making the wrong decision financially because you love that kitchen, but the backyard would not work for your family. So I think that probably helps the most in keeping people focused on what they say their goals are.
So the behavioral side of it is
huge.
Massive, yeah.
And then, of course, you've got inspections and appraisals and walking through that process. The fun part is finding the buyer or finding the house. The real work starts the minute the contract's in place and getting that contract and these two people to closing.
Do you find most of the behavioral hand-holding comes equally between buying and selling a home, or mostly, when you're selling your own house, are you more emotional than you would be in buying a new home?
I think both. The buyers and sellers can be emotional because the reasons people sell houses don't change. You get married, you get divorced. You have a baby, the babies are gone. You get a promotion at work, you get transferred at work, you get downsized from work. So we know as realtors, we're seeing people at their worst, or well, at their most stressed. I shouldn't say at their worst, but at their most stressed, and probably at their most emotional, because a lot of times they are moving to town, they're pregnant, or they've lost a family member, or there's always some other factor going on. And so it's a stressful time. And so I don't think I think it's divided equally between the buyers and the sellers.
Well, today I thought we would talk about selling your home and really dive into what upgrades and improvements you can make to your home that will generate the most bang for your buck. And what I thought we might do is sort of walk from the moment that you introduce a potential buyer to a home through a house and sort of get your opinion on what improvements somebody might make. Does that sound like a plan?
It does.
Good.
I like it.
So when you first drive up to a home to jump out at the mailbox, what are the things that your potential buyers first notice about a home?
I think that the curb appeal, the first 30 seconds they're on your property, is the most important. So if you can, paint that mailbox, have some color around the front door, spruce up that landscaping. I mean, if the tree or the bushes are overgrown, trim those up and get that front looking wonderful. And I read an article a couple of years ago that said paint your front door an interesting color. And I thought, I don't know that I agree with that. But then I started noticing the houses that had an interesting front door color, and my clients were remembering those houses. So, we walk up to one door and it's purple, and I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. And my client remembered, well, that house that had the purple door, I really liked that purple door. And so I started seeing clients notice an interesting front door. So I would say spend a lot of time and money on that curb appeal and those first 30 seconds.
How do you know when you need professional help?
Probably when you don't think you need professional help. The clients who say, Allyson, I need a stager, or I think I needed staging, usually know their houses are usually ready to show. It's the ones who have watched a lot of the HGTV and maybe too much HGTV. But I think everybody could probably use some help with a professional stager, and they do bring a lot of value. I've seen houses before and after a staging, and it does make a huge difference. And sometimes if you just take out half of what you have in your house, you would be doing a really good job.
So in that front yard, what would you say if people focus on 3 areas? You said door. What are 2 other areas that they really need to concentrate on in that first impression moment?
Well, I again would say color. Have some kind of, flowers, either pansies in the winter or impatiens, something at that front door. And make sure that it's all clean and neat, and there aren't cobwebs or dirt dauber nests, or just make sure that front door is looking good and that front sidewalk area is nice and clean. Maybe while you have your house on the market, use the front door instead of coming through the garage.
So you take notice of it?
So that you notice what's going on, and if there's water standing on the sidewalk, or we have a little ice or snow or something, just make sure that's clean.
All right, so clean, manicured, a little pop of color.
Right.
All right. We have to take a short break, and we'll be back in a moment with Allyson. Stay with us.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to In the Money. If you're just joining us, we're talking about where to invest your time and your dollars to keep your home at its best. Today, we're joined by Allyson Avera with Crye-Leike Realtors. Thanks again for joining us today, Allyson. We were just talking about the first impression when you drive a potential buyer up to a home. So let's go ahead and walk through that front door. What are the areas that you can upgrade or improve in that initial moment when you open the door?
You know, I think again, we go back to that first 30 seconds. So when you walk in, if you've got an entry hall, maybe unclutter that, unclutter that table, just have the table and just a few simple things there. And then if your dining room is typically the Memphis plan, your dining room is right when you walk in, I would probably not have flocked wallpaper there. I don't think that's going to be helpful in selling the house. So, keep it pretty neutral so that when you first walk in, you're open to that. I think I've seen when houses have wallpaper or loud colors in that front part of the house, then buyers start taking note of what have I got to do to fix this house to make it my own. So I think, keeping that neutral and uncluttered is probably a good step. And then most people end up in the kitchen first. So if you're going to do upgrades in a kitchen, the kitchen would be the place to put that money, and you would end up getting that money back. Because of these HGTV shows, everybody thinks they've got to have granite or some kind of solid surface material in the kitchen. And so I think investing in that is good. If you're going to rip out the cabinets and completely renovate the kitchen, you might want to talk to a real estate professional and say, hey, this is what my estimate is. This is how much of that am I going to get back? Kitchens and baths are where you do get that money back, but if you're going to spend $150,000 on a kitchen and you're in a $250,000 neighborhood, you're probably not going to get all that back.
So that's actually a really interesting point. So you can help someone choose which materials are within their price range for their neighborhood.
Right. So if your neighbors have granite, you need to have granite. If you want that decor or that Viking stove that's $10,000, you're probably not going to get that back. Over the weekend, I had a client who wanted to put an addition onto their house, and it's going to be 20 by 20, so 400 square feet. It's going to cost them $60,000. Well, when they spend that puts them in the neighborhood $20,000 more than they really need to be. So is it worth the $20,000 to you? Because if you sold and bought another house, it would probably cost you that much or more, but you're still going to kind of be overbuilt or overimproved for the neighborhood. And so they've got a decision to make. Is this really what they want to do? Is this really where they want to stay? But if they're getting ready to sell it, might not be the best way to do that.
So what are the flooring debates now? I know obviously in a kitchen you wouldn't put carpet, but that seems in prior years to have been a really big issue. And then if you scenarios where you have maybe different mediums of flooring in different rooms, what are the general trends right now about what flooring situations need to look like?
In our market, people tend to like 1 or 2 floors throughout the downstairs, maybe 3 if you do hardwood or tile in the entry, then hardwood in the living areas and tile in the kitchen, then you've got carpet in the downstairs bedrooms, you're okay. But to go in the dining room and you've got, entry hall is tile, dining room is hardwood, kitchen's tile, and then you've got laminate floors in the living room, and you've got all these different breaks in the flooring. It's probably not going to be as sellable as somebody who has hardwood throughout or tile in the kitchen entry, hardwood in the other places.
Are you seeing buyers prefer one type of flooring and say that the main living areas?
Well, nobody ever comes in and says, yuck, hardwood.
Okay.
You know, that's just not something you don't hear that. But you do have a lot of tile floors that look like hardwood. So if somebody's got large dogs or large animals and lots of them, then that tile that looks like hardwood is a great choice for them, and people like that. It just depends on the price point you're in. And over $300, you need to have hardwood. Under $300, you could have a nice laminate, you know.
What about appliances in the kitchen? There were stainless steel was a big thing for a while. Is that sort of still what buyers prefer, or?
Well, I am seeing stainless. I'm also seeing black appliances in houses. So I think what you like too, you still have to live there. But if you're putting it on the market to sell, then I would talk to a realtor and say, okay, what's the hot thing now? Is it still the stainless, or can I do the black appliances, or am I going to do an all-white kitchen? Or
now, when it comes to taste, again, this goes back to when to hire professional help. How much of the hand-holding for you in a big renovation like a kitchen comes to more general taste that will appeal to a much wider audience? Or, you know, if you're going to cook in that kitchen, you probably want exactly what you want. How much of that debate goes on when you walk in to help somebody sort of make the renovation decisions?
Well, I think if you're going to renovate it to live there, then you get what you want. You're paying for it, after all. And probably if you like it, somebody else is going to come along and like it too, unless you put in, I don't know, purple countertops, or, you know, red, or something just really bold. But if you're just going to paint the island a opposite color, you know, paint the island black and the cabinets are a beige or a white or something, then I think you're okay. But if you go for something way out there, you know, at least leave the granite a more neutral color, something that you can change easily, instead of putting in something outlandish.
So pick neutral colors for your more permanent features, and go a little bit bolder on things that you can
could go
change.
bold with the paint. But if you want to do an upgraded appliance and you enjoy that, then do that. You still have to live there. It's still about living.
It is about living. All right, we have to take another short break. We'll be right back with Allyson.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to In the Money. We're talking through home upgrades and renovations today with Allyson Avera. All right, Allyson, when we took a break, we were talking about kitchen. Now it's probably best to move on to the master bedroom and bathroom situation. So in those areas, what do you see as the best-selling focal points or changes people can make in their situation?
Well, you're right. Kitchens and baths sell houses. So the master bedroom and bathroom are probably the second room people really make the decision in and will get emotional about a sale. So if you're going to update the master bathroom, for example, you know, doing a shower, a nice tile shower would be great. And if you have a separate tub and shower, as long as you have another tub in the house so that if they have kids and they can bathe, you could take out that tub. But again, I would probably talk to an agent because it depends on the floor plan. And I'm seeing a lot of those car wash, I call them the car wash shower, you know, where it's got the rain shower head and then you've got several shower heads coming down.
Okay.
That's what I call it.
The car wash shower.
I'm sure there's a highly technical term for that. But I'm seeing a lot of that. And you, again, need to talk with someone and see, am I over improving for the neighborhood or for the area? But granite tops in the master bathroom are huge for buyers. Closet space is always a plus. And lately I've been showing houses that don't have a linen closet. So I'm not sure if people are taking out their linen closet to do their showers, but it really, a linen closet for buyers when they're looking at it, still want to keep that linen closet.
Now, are you still having the big his closet, her closet, his sink, her sink, or is that consolidating?
No, I think double vanities are always a plus. And if you can have separate closets, I think most people would prefer that. But if it's a big, large walk-in closet where there's a good place to separate, or at least give, you know, one party 3/4 of the closet and the other party 1/4 closet. Or whatever, you could have her spring, her summer. No.
So if you have to choose between a stand-up shower or getting rid of one of the his/her closets, what does that decision look like?
Closet space is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our stuff and we all have our shoes and clothes and you want space for that. So I wouldn't give up too much of that master closet. I'd still leave some space unless you're going to get a closet designer in there to maximize the space. Then you may be okay there.
Okay. So I do want to jump to the backyard. I think that's important. But first, really quickly, the attic. So I know you've seen a lot of different uses for attic renovations. Game rooms, additional bedrooms. What do you think is the best bang for your buck on taking an attic space and making it part of the home?
In our market here, if it's the 3rd floor attic, like a walk-up attic in that 2-story, 5'4" and a door box house, you don't get much of that money back. So it's really not well spent money. An appraiser's not going to give you as much for that square footage as if it is an expandable space off a 2nd floor. Then I think you're fine in whatever you want to do there because that's going to be additional square footage and you'll get all that money back.
Oh, okay.
But a 3rd floor attic, you probably just need to leave it as a 3rd floor attic.
Okay, off into the backyard. So this goes back to the HGTV because this has been a huge focus. And I
Right.
know I have had friends who've spent a lot of money on their backyard with fireplaces and pools. What is your general assessment of the backyard now in a transaction?
People do get emotional about that backyard living space. So if you've got a covered patio, people love that. Screened-in porch, love that. And we'll pay more from another house that doesn't have that. So it does make the house more sellable. You do get that money back. But if you're going to spend $150,000 on the backyard kitchen in a $250,000 neighborhood, you're probably not going to get all that back. And on pools, 25% of my clients say, I want a pool, show me houses with pools. 25% say, I don't want a pool, don't show me any pools. And then the other 50% say, well, a pool would be okay, but I don't want to pay for it, which is why appraisers on the lower end give you $2,500 to $7,500 for a pool, depending on how it's done. But if you go out again and spend $150,000 on the pool and the backyard, you better be in a $750 up neighborhood. And then again, you're going to get probably, 50% of that value back, maybe. But it does get people emotional about your house. So in a different market than we're in now, it would make a huge point of difference to have an incredible backyard. I'm just not sure you're going to get all that money back.
Got it.
So you enjoy it.
So do your backyard for your taste, for your living enjoyment.
Correct.
How do you feel about professional landscaping in the backyard as it goes back to that? Is that the same thing? If you want to look out your window and see a professionally landscaped backyard, go for it. But as far as resale, is there?
It depends on the market. In this market, you would get some of that money back, but you're probably never going to get all that back. But you do have to live there. And so you want to enjoy that. I mean, the reason I bought the house I'm in is I love the backyard. And I'm loving, enjoying, and paying for maintaining it. So
That's a good point. There is a maintenance cost. So again, actually back to paying for something, when you're choosing contractors for these upgrades and renovations, what are the key things that you tell your clients to look for when they are interviewing and hiring and planning, especially when you have an add-on or a large renovation?
Well, I think that I would get names and numbers of people they have done work for, and I would call them, and if there's possible, I would go see what their work looks like. But you obviously want to get them licensed and bonded contractor. But definitely I'd get references, and I would talk to those people and maybe see their work firsthand. Because there's a lot of great contractors here that do some incredible work. Oh, and can I get a plug in for the Neighborhood Preservation Commission while I'm here?
Sure.
The City of Germantown, every April 22nd, I think is the Sunday, it might be the 23rd. Anyway, we have a home tour, and so if you are in Germantown and you've updated your home and would like 300-400 of your closest neighbors to come through it and see it, we'd love to have you.
Oh, that's fun.
It is a lot of fun, and
That's
the people who've done it have enjoyed it and been real happy they were a part of the home tour.
Awesome. Well, we're about to have to wrap up, so I would say, are there 5 top things you would tell home sellers not to do with their house when they're looking at these renovations?
Well, probably don't over-improve.
Okay.
Talk with, I would probably ask for professional help, either a decorator or someone who knows their stuff there. Speak with a real estate agent and say, this is how much we're going to spend, and how much will we get back of that? Just so you know going in what your loss is going to be.
So don't go in without a budget.
Go in with a budget
Got it.
and speak to someone to make sure you're making the right decision. At least you're making an informed decision. And then, this probably doesn't answer the question correctly, but I will tell you, if you have a professional cleaner come in and spend not $100 to have your cousin's best friend's sister come over and clean the house, pay $400 or $500 and have the house deep clean, because cleaning a house will overcome a lot of other objections.
So don't sell a dusty home.
Don't sell a dusty home. I don't think people know that it's dusty, but they know it's clean.
Got it. Well, thank you for being here today. Today, we discussed where to focus your time and your dollars on improvements to your home. If the sale of your home is something you see in your not too distant future, working with an experienced real estate professional like Allyson can give you tremendous insight into the current home sale environment. That's all the time we have today. Thanks to Allyson Avera with Crye-Leike Realtors, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more shows, follow us on YouTube or Facebook at Germantown Municipal Television. You can also visit our website at gmtvonline.org. Each person's financial situation is unique. Before making any decisions, please speak to a financial professional to see if our discussions today are in your best interest. We'll see you next month. I'm Teresa Bailey, and now you are in the money.